What's up everybody, AnimeX here, and in this video I'll be doing yet another character analysis because, while the Itachi video did not do that great, I do like making these types of videos, and the reception in the comment section was relatively good. So I decided, hey, why not do another one? Also, you guys didn't hit the like goal on the what if that's supposed to come out on Mondays, so this will be the substitute, and so I don't just leave you guys hanging out to dry. The reason Kisame is the next person that I'm analyzing is due to you guys voting on my Twitter, my Instagram, and my community tab polls, and Kisame was the most popular vote in all of those scenarios. Even in the comments, I saw a good amount of people asking for an analysis on Kisame, so here we are. Now, if you guys do want to have a good impact on which characters in the Akatsuki get analyzed next, I'll leave a link to my Twitter down below where you can kind of get in the polls, and I'll leave a link to my Instagram as well where you can kind of impact the voting system there. Now, just like in the Itachi video, I'll be breaking down Kisame into a few key points of his character. So, without further ado, let's get started. Now, when we get our initial introduction to Kisame along with Itachi, there are a few key things that we take note of and recognize. First, we see Kisame has an Akatsuki robe, implying that he, along with Itachi, are both a very strong ninja that we need to be wary of. This does set the tone for other things, including Kisame's impressive and, in reality, underrated strength and power in Naruto Shippuden. Another thing that is hard to miss about Kisame is that he's blue. It's kind of obvious, and clearly holds a very eerie resemblance to a shark, which fits some of the abilities that Kisame and his sword Samehada have himself. The other thing that people notice about Kisame is his rather large and weirdly shaped sword that doesn't really seem to be sharp or have any edges, that is wrapped in bandages. That not only contributes to Kisame looking like an impressive and strong fighter, at least in terms of physicality, it also intrigues anyone that, upon first viewing, who doesn't know about Samehada, and it just basically makes them want to understand more. Basically making people who don't really understand Kisame in full want to learn more. I think all of these things being put together and jumbled into the person or character that is Kisame, and based off of mere looks and designs, I think that Kisame has quite enough intrigue within him, and his own design that draws people in, making them question what and who Kisame is, which, unfortunately, the what is never really answered in a way that pleases many fans. It is something that initially people find interesting and something that draws in the viewer. Now, to briefly talk about Kisame's strength, I'd say he's underrated. Kisame is better than Minato. Fight me in the comment section. Anyways, Samehada is something that, at very first, is very weird to us, and we see that the viewer wants to get more insight onto it, right? Because it's a weird shaped sword that, in Kisame's word, it doesn't cut, it lops things off, which is a weird phrasing for his sword, but it does make us intrigued. And it's something that actually, when we've seen to put to use relatively early within Kisame's actual character, it is something that we enjoy seeing, at least me personally, I did. So overall, in terms of first impressions, surely based off his design, while Kisame isn't nearly as intriguing initially as someone like Kakashi or Itachi, I do think he serves his purpose to not only look cool, but for his design and overall to interest fans of the series. Looking into Kisame on a deeper level requires you to break down the past experiences that Kisame has had to go through, and what decisions that Kisame made leading up to him being shown to us in Naruto and Naruto Shippuden. Now, unlike Itachi, Kisame's story is something that isn't nearly as well known as someone like Itachi's, who I analyzed in my last character analysis video. Now, Kisame's backstory also isn't nearly as intricate of a backstory as Itachi's. I think Kisame is one that clearly outlines his personality and some of the ideas that Kisame has about the world and his ideology as a whole. Kisame was originally part of the Mist Village, and he was a ninja whose job was, in major turn in his life, to guard the Cypher division of his village from enemy ninja and from basically letting information leak out. The Cypher division had very volatile information on the Mist Village, meaning that if the info leaked, the Mist Village would have a problem. So, when confronted by ninja from the Leaf and being cornered, instead of letting the Cypher ninja getting captured and basically have the information tortured out of them, Kisame decided to take matters into his own hands when he basically thought that his village's information would be leaked out, and he decided to kill the ninja he was sworn to protect, keeping the information away from enemy hands and forces at all costs. Kisame later realizes that Fuguki, the previous wielder of Samehada, the one who assigned Kisame on his missions and one of the Seven Swordsmen of the Mist, had been selling the Hidden Mist village secrets to other villages for a profit, and Kisame, not liking this activity and basically contradicting Kisame's own beliefs, killed Fuguki, taking Samehada as his own, becoming one of the Seven Swordsmen of the Mist. After this, the Mizukage at the time did congratulate Kisame for his loyalty, that after killing his comrades under the orders or the whims of a traitor himself, Kisame actually falls into a little bit of a depression, or a semi-depression you could say, and is able to really open his eyes and see the world for what it is. Shortly after this, Kisame realizes that the 4th Mizukage is being manipulated from behind the scenes, and realizes that it is Obito, a Sharingan user, keeping the 4th under his control. Kisame demands that Obito tell us who he is, and Obito actually decides to let him know, letting him know that he is Madara Uchiha. Obito pitches the idea of his Tsukiyomi plan to Kisame when initially skeptical. Basically, Kisame wanted to live in reality with truth and no lying, and Obito pitches a world of truth and no lies, which intrigues Kisame's interest, making him decide to join the Akatsuki, starting Kisame's development and journey as a ninja. Once Kisame became an Akatsuki member at this point in time, Kisame had the reputation for killing traitors, and since Itachi, who he was paired up with, was always the most likely to betray the Akatsuki, at least in Obito and Pain's eyes, the traitor killer was put on the team with the most likely to be a traitor, meaning that they were the perfect pair. Now, throughout their time together in the Akatsuki, both members start off very hostile with each other. But with time, the bond between Kisame and Itachi is formed, which shows a bigger aspect within Kisame's development as a character than Itachi's himself. At least I would say. The reason, or the common ground that they are able to develop on, was interesting because we see them as people that have both betrayed people that meant the most in their lives. Kisame, even throughout their time as the Akatsuki, or throughout his time in the Akatsuki, he begins to respect Itachi as Itachi developed Kisame's ideology and functionally humanized the shark man known as Kisame. The degree to which Kisame, or how much Kisame cared about Itachi, is shown in full when Kisame hears about his death, and is clearly saddened by hearing this, meaning that not only did he respect Itachi as a ninja, but he genuinely cared enough to be saddened by Itachi's death. In fact, not only does Kisame get upset about Itachi's death, but the connection between the two is so clear that Zetsu hypothesized that Kisame only stayed on the Akatsuki because of Itachi, and his death would result in Kisame deserting, although this would conflict with Kisame's own personal developed ideas about the world and his connections to them. Zetsu, who isn't aware of this, would have thought that. Now, like I've said, Itachi functionalized to humanize and develop Kisame into a better person, at least in the eyes of the viewers and the eyes of Kisame himself, which we are able to see, because initially, and really all the way up until Kisame's demise, we see that Kisame perceives himself as a bad person and questions why he exists, and if he even really has a reason to exist as a person. He even perceives his life as a lie until Itachi, the one who usually places people under genjutsu and puts people in an illusionary world, ironically was the one to release Kisame from the illusion of him being a horrible person inherently and someone who would die a meaningless death, which Kisame had thought up until this point, and we see Kisame's development up until the very end of his life, where he chooses to protect information at all costs, including his life, in the very end sticking to his ideals. And upon him dying, Kisame's final thoughts go towards Itachi, wondering if Itachi really knew the true him before he died, hoping that he would. And I personally think that Kisame's wishes were granted because when Itachi did come back, I think Itachi did like Kisame and care for him as a comrade, as when Itachi comes back as an Edo Tensei, Itachi is upset, or clearly visibly upset about Kisame's death, showing that Kisame had been one to stick to his guns and never give up his ideology since he was a Mist Ninja. Now, I've been mentioning Kisame's ideals and been talking about his ideology without really diving into it, and the reason that I mention it so much is because, like you would expect, someone's ideas about the world or how they perceive the world is something that will shape most decisions that people will make, meaning that they will come up a lot, at least in analysis videos like this. Now, I did briefly allude to what Kisame's ideology might have been when I talked about his backstory and how that changed him, but I haven't outright said what it is, or at least what I interpret it to being, and how his ideology affects Kisame as a character. Now, Kisame's beliefs hinge on a very simple idea. Information is over everything in terms of its value. This actually means that Kisame's ideas and beliefs of the world would actually transform into the idea of information and loyalty being more valuable than anything that he could possibly value it, including his own life. Now, before I give my 2 cents on the morality or lack thereof of Kisame's ideals, I want to dive even deeper into the mind of Kisame and really dissect how he got to this point in his mindset. Now, based off Kisame's backstory, you may be able to piece together how he got there. It was drilled into his head as a mist shinobi that loyalty to the mist and protecting the delicate information about his home was more important than anything else he could possibly value. This was drilled into his head by Fuguki, one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist, who at the time were at the peak of their fame, meaning that Fuguki was in a position to impress his own ideas upon Kisame. We later find out that while Fuguki didn't impress his own moral beliefs and ideas upon Kisame, he pushed Kisame to be a good shinobi who, no matter what, was supposed to listen to his orders, be loyal to whoever he sides with being his home, and protect information at all costs. This leads Kisame to thinking that Fuguki, would act the same, who acted as a hero figure, would act the same and believe in the same words that he was preaching to Kisame, leading him to kill his own squad and to protect the information of the mist and ward off the Leaf Ninja. Keep in mind that Kisame was also raised in the Mist Village in a time where violence was at its peak, and in order to pass and actually become a ninja, you had to kill and slaughter your way to the top, giving Kisame a natural violent disposition just due to the village he was raised in. This means that the only way Kisame in his situation knew to protect information and make sure traitors don't exist around him is to kill them and slaughter anyone that becomes a contradiction to his beliefs. This is the false belief that Kisame operates under. He believes that Fuguki, the one feeding him these lives, believed them himself. So when Kisame finds out that his instructor or leader, or really a hero figure to him, had been selling out the village, this would force Kisame to not only kill his idol, but it also shows Kisame the truth through a very rough and unfortunate way. What happened to Kisame is very similar to an example that I think most people are aware of in some way, shape, or form. Now, I'll allude to something as a real-life example as it does help me bring up my point, but I can really tie this back into Kisame. Now, as a kid, many parents told them that Santa existed, when in reality, sorry to break the news to you, he doesn't. The parent usually tries to keep this illusion up as long as possible. For some odd reason, they don't want to take credit for them buying gifts. But when this lie is discovered, things are usually rough for the child, or the child is rightfully angry at the parent that they had been lied to by a person who they had complete and utter trust in, or at least there's a sense of guilt that the parent seems to have after the truth is found out about this little white lie, as they call it. Now, imagine the confusion, the anger, the depression, and other flurry of emotions that Kisame must have felt from not only realizing that something as unimportant as Santa, it doesn't exist when you've been told it does, but imagine finding out that your morals, your beliefs, and your ideology and everything you built yourself up on as a person had been built on lies with no foundation. It would be a miracle if you didn't fall into a crippling and nearly inescapable depression because of it. And as I've already briefly touched on, I would say that Kisame did fall on a little bit of a depression, as many of his morals and his own ideals had been compromised, at least for a short while. Now, I want to talk about something that you'll notice in many of my analysis videos with the Akatsuki, and you'll kind of recognize this theme as you go through if you really take a look at my videos and try to find themes within them. If you break down almost every single Akatsuki member that really has a backstory or a good amount of development, we see that their ideals or philosophy that they base their actions on are lies or aren't whole truths at the bare minimum. For Itachi, his false belief was that Sasuke would never escape the illusion that he had laid out for him, and for Kisame, it was the idea that never giving up information and being loyal would never and should never be held in lower regard than anything. Kisame only believed this due to the almost brainwashing that he was put under as a Mist Ninja. And while this would be a tragic end if Kisame's story ended there, we see that Kisame, due to meeting Itachi, for who the most part is a great influence on every character that he truly interacts with, he's able to change and develop. Upon meeting Itachi, Kisame saw them as the same type of people, comrade killers, people who were at the bottom of the barrel in terms of their life, people so terrible and so undeserving of any honor whatsoever that Kisame believed that both he and Itachi would die irrelevant and not honorable deaths, and they should end up facing a terrible fate. Dying without honor and dying without doing anything to use their ideas of the world is something that Kisame would himself perceive as a terrible fate. Itachi, though, is able to not necessarily change Kisame's initial ideas about loyalty and information, but he's able to give Kisame a new perspective on the world and give him a new perspective on his own philosophy and ideology. Itachi, when he says that he and Kisame are basically, that he and Kisame starts the momentum are different, when he says that he and Kisame are different, the momentum of Kisame starts to develop, and he basically develops a relationship between Itachi, and it starts developing Kisame's mindset from a nihilistic view to someone who understands themselves in an insane way that most people in real life and in Naruto don't really get the chance to until they're near death or have already died. We see that Kisame is one of the characters in Akatsuki that has an initial belief that is either incorrect inherently or something that is built upon lies, even if, in theory, it's a fair thing to believe. Kisame doesn't change his ideas like someone like Pain or Itachi, who gets either Takano Jutsu'd or just understand throughout the world that keeping his ideas may not be the best thing for him. Kisame is stubborn and he sticks to his guns to the very end. He ended up killing himself when he knew that this was the only way to protect the Akatsuki's information, and this shows that even in the end, Kisame himself didn't change. His acceptance of himself did, as he finally accepted his ideals as his own, and not something that was gifted to him in any way, shape, or form. Now, Kisame is someone who on first glance, or maybe even second or third glance, doesn't seem to be perceived as deep as a character as someone like Itachi, Pain, or even Obito. And basically, while I don't think his ideas themselves are that deep, complicated or hard to understand, I do think that Kisame does function as someone who's very interesting as a character when you really dig into his story. I think that Kisame shows that development within characters doesn't necessarily have to result in an outward change within the character, or even a change in what they think is right or wrong with their philosophy on the world. I think Kisame shows the other end of the development spectrum. Kisame, especially when paired with Itachi, is able to show and display the duality of development. Itachi acts as the outward development, the development that is most apparent to viewers, changing and warping what he thought and how he interacted within the world, while Kisame was the one who basically decided to not change his outward opinions and philosophy. While those didn't change, at the very end he changed himself by allowing him to lean into his humanity and finally accept himself along with his ideals, not viewing himself as some sort of animal or some sort of monster that didn't deserve any honor. Now, when analyzing Kisame and running through his ideas and looking at his own philosophy and interpretation of the world, I have to say, I don't agree inherently with what he said, at least not to the degree that he believes it. Like I've made very clear before in my Itachi video, I don't think that anyone's ideology that is very black and white and lacks a gray area can ever be 100% correct or 100% incorrect. I feel like there should be gray areas with every philosophy, every ideology, and every morality, but Kisame's doesn't seem to have that. There will always be a qualifying situation, in my opinion, that makes you break the rules of a strict morality and philosophy that is 100% black and white. So I'll say this: Kisame valued the truth and information above anything and everything. I reflect similar sentiments. I do believe that the truth, true information, and loyalty are some of the most important qualities that people can have and show as human beings and as really any fictional characters, even if they, are Naruto or a Naruto character such as Kisame. I do think that these are things that should be touched upon and be more emphasized in not only the Naruto world, but in the real world, right? Because I do think that this can affect us as a whole, and I do think that many Akatsuki characters either reflect real life people or they reflect real life issues and topics that do exist within the world. Now, I can't say that I put truth and loyalty above everything, right? Or at least loyalty to certain people above everything, or people that I affiliate above everything. And that is, I think, where I and Kisame Hoshigaki differentiate on our ideals. And that, everybody, is all I have to say about Kisame Hoshigaki, the Sharkman of Naruto, and one of the most underrated Akatsuki members in terms of his strength, who, like I said earlier, I think could body Minato, at least base, an actual character in my opinion. I think he is underrated in his strength and in his actual character as a series, but I do think that applies to a lot of characters that aren't like the main people that just look and have a surface layer deep character. If you have any qualms with anything I said in this analysis video, like analysis-wise, and have some constructive criticism for me, let me know how I can improve these videos down in the comment section down below. Also, just letting you guys know, I will be holding some polls for who I should analyze next, so if you want to actually have input on those polls, I'll leave links to my Twitter, Instagram, and Discord so you can do just that. And if you like my content and want to support me in a more powerful way, then I'll leave a link to my Patreon down below as well. I sincerely hope you guys enjoyed this analysis video, and if you did, consider subscribing and hitting the bell so you don't miss out on the next video. And as always guys, this is AnimeX, hoping you actually enjoyed this Kisame video, and signing off.